Balance brings blessings. So the word balance, when we use the word balance, this word brings to my mind certain images, which I have heard also equally in Murlis, Baba's Murli. So the first one is swing. I think all of us, when we were kids, even now grown-ups, when we have some time, we just take a ride in the swing and the movement going up and down. It is quite enjoyable. Then there's another beautiful scene that comes in my mind. That was when I was still a kid. I went to a big international circus. And in that circus, I was watching the acrobats performing feats, magical feats. For me, I was just sitting there, holding my breath and wondering at the magic, seeing the skillful movements, the acrobats moving with dexterity, and such a skill, such an art, so elegantly, so swiftly. So it's really a wonder to watch it. Then we have, of course, the musicians, the singers, also they maintain a balance. The singer follows the music. The musician also sees to it that he gives the notes, appropriate notes, gives melodies. Or we come down to normal life. Simply sitting, our sitting posture. When we are standing, we are walking, we are working. And nowadays, there's a topic which I think most of people know. We call it ergonomics, where where the teachings are given how to sit in front of a computer, how to pick up things from a shelf quite high up, or how to kneel down. So I was wondering that at one point in time, people were so agile that they didn't have to do any hatha yoga or even doing some sort of exercise to bring this ease in their movement. So what has happened since that moment and up to now, that we have now entered a field where we have to teach people, where it is being taught of how to bend down, how to pick up things from the shelves somewhere higher. That's one thing about balance, bringing the images to our mind. Then, when we use the word harmony, there are many other words in our vocabulary that brings a closeness to that feeling which balance gives. One of them is the topic that Baba has given us for this month, the Avyak signals. And that's having the dance of harmony in our sanskar. Then this word harmony reminds me of a very remarkable event. That was the first Pole of Time retreat we had 22 years ago. And I remember Dadi, there was the presence of Dadi Janki, there were Sister Judy, Jayanti Ben, Gaitree Narayan, all of them were here. And we had a small hotel all by ourselves. Then the topic was, one of the subtopics was harmony. And Dadi came up with the word harmonica. And then she said, well, in Hindi, she had a derivative of the word. She says, har mani, accept defeat, to bring harmony in relationships. So that reminds us of today's blessing. And the blessing today, Baba says, we have to, let me quote, Baba says the blessing of the day, Baba speaking about tolerance. May you be tolerant and tolerate every situation with love. Especially we know these few words, tolerate every situation with love. In other words, our response, although we react, we would say response rather than reacting. respond with love by understanding the Father's orders. Yeah. So in fact, it's how do we come across? How do we come to that stage? It's when we have a proper blend of the power to face and the power to tolerate. It's not that we ignore one. Both of them blend together at one midpoint. Like, for example, if we were to give the definition of balance itself, we would say balance, finding our balance refers to reaching a midpoint between two extremes or two sides. I would rather use the word golden mean. And I would rather say that balance is not only an art, the greatest art, but in our day-to-day living has become a dire need. It's imperative in this age of turmoil and turbulence. And finding out our balance, reaching that level which we feel is good for me, brings me showers of blessings from Baba. Baba has been qualifying blessings for us as a lift or as medicine. So each word that we take from Baba gives us an array of, it springs into other thoughts naturally, harmoniously. So today we had this image of, as I said, of the swing, of the acrobats performance, musicians, singers simply sitting or having some ordinary day-to-day movement where we need to have this balance, be stable in that balance. When we say golden mean, that reminds me of long years ago, we were being given the training for self-managing leadership course. And in that one, I remember the one of the things that stayed with me, and I'm still learning more and more about going into that place. The thing that I learned at that time was how to be in the now, to be in the present, using two pairs of balance. One pair was the balance between what we would say the right brain thinking and the left brain's thinking. What we would refer to as the masculine and the feminine and the masculine, or we would say the soft and the hard part. Yeah. When we refer to the right brain, the intuitive part, the feminine part, it refers to our feelings, our intuition. When we refer to the left side, that is masculine, the hard side, the logical side, the analytical side, this one refers to, of course, much more intellectual work, something to do with our intellect. So it's the intellect and the heart blending together to find the middle point. And when they reach together, this is what we would refer to as being in the now, being in the present. And it opens avenues for deeper exploration into reaching a state of silence where we, as witness, we see our intellect functioning and at the same time seeing the heart bringing out beautiful feelings. A meeting point need to be reached. And how do we reach that meeting point? I would say about the second pair now. The second pair of opposites, so I will say there's two sides. One is the past and the other is the future. So to be in present is neither to be in the past nor be in the future. But what we have to do when we are in the present, we take lessons that we have learned from our past, and with these lessons as our strength, we find ourselves where we position ourselves in the present, and we see in the near future or in the far end future, what is it that is calling me? What is the vision that I'm having in the future? And that vision the vision in the future is not something fancy, but it has to be something imaginary, but it has to be really based on what I have, what I have acquired in my past, my experiences, but at the same time, a leap into the future in the sense of what I feel my intuition is bringing, what I feel that I'm meant to do, a sort of digging at what could be my purpose. So that will be visible only when we reach this midpoint, when we say we are in the now, where the past and the future meet, where the brain, I would say the intellect and the heart meet. That point, which I say to be in the now, which nowadays people in the world also use, they say to be in the present, to be in the now. They call it also présence d'esprit. It's the presence of our mind. And if we come to our source of inspiration and teachings that we get from Baba, this point is what I would refer to a state of which I would qualify as an inner sanctuary. There's a famous author who has described this place within us, deep inside the soul, as a sanctuary to which we can retreat at any time. There's a place in each one of us which we qualify as a sanctuary, which is very cool and calm, to which we can refer to which we can retreat into that seat. And that when we say retreat into that seat, so when I would think about balance in the broad sense, and also in the depth also, it's like how I would qualify it. It's like it's another saying comes to my mind, which Baba has been giving us in a much broader sense. Baba has been giving us extensively. And that notion is about the body and the soul. That's the balance, the major balance that we need to bring into body consciousness and soul consciousness. So to reach the golden mean, where the soul is supreme and rules over the body, like when we give the definition of yoga. We say that the soul is the king, the soul is the sovereign, and the body is the territory which we have to rule as soul when we are seated in our seat as sovereign, self-sovereign, the king, who has complete control over the five senses, equally over the mind, the intellect, and the subconscious. So also, when we say king, in history also it is referred to. We say that in general saying in history, they say that God makes kings. So Baba is the king maker. So the soul and the body, that gives us a whole host of opposite pairs or qualities that run in pairs that Baba has been mentioning, or even in our activity. If we can refer to those pairs, it's interesting to explore them. So, as I said, one was the major one. Okay, I see in the chat my voice is not clear. Should it be more, should the tone be higher? Is it clear now?
Can you speak a little bit slower? And
okay.
Yes, and check and see, because
Okay.
somebody said the Spanish translator cannot translate.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I will go more slowly. So yes, we were talking about the major balance, which is the foundation. And that's the body and soul. And it brings me to a saying of an author whose name is Hermann Hesse. He said, It's not that we are human beings having spiritual experience, but it's the other way around. It is we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Is that clearer now?
Probably. Let's see. They didn't reply.
Yeah. Let me repeat it again. That author Hermann said, and it rings very true to what we have been learning. It is not that we are human beings having spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings having human experience. And that gives us a totally different perspective. And when we start, since we have joined this organization, since we have started practicing this soul consciousness, and we give ourselves the soul as a driver, we give ourselves the place of the soul as the driver, the one who leads the body, who controls the body, who rules over the body. First and foremost, we need to, when we move into that awareness, that consciousness, there is that seat of silence. That seat of silence, which we are seeking now and again, because we have lost it. And to reach that point of silence, which is our natural nature, I would say this could be qualified as being in the now, the background, the backdrop of all our creation. Hence the saying, in silence lies the highest source of inspiration and insight. Like the surface of a calm lake. When we look at the surface of a calm lake, clear, clean water, we can see deep inside all the sediments. At the same time, we can have a reflection not only on what my face is reflecting there, but also all the external, like the sky, the trees, the surrounding, the environment, everything is reflected in the lake. So when we are able to reach the seat of silence deep within the soul, we are able to be in an interconnectivity with the whole universe. Okay? So having found that interconnectivity, we will be in a position to discern what is it that I need to offer to the world. And in that silence, there's also a natural communion. I won't say a connection. I would rather say a communion, a dynamic, functional relationship with our Creator, with Baba, the ocean. And when we are relating to Baba, we are communicating, we are communing with Baba, we can feel the downloading, we can feel the flow of all the divine powers and virtues flowing inside the soul. And it's much more easier for us to channel it as instrument. But the position where we need to be is to be constantly in link, to be constantly online with Baba through our divine intellect.
Sorry for interrupting you. We still have a problem with the microphone. Probably they say that maybe you should go a little bit closer because the sound is scattered around.
Okay, I have brought the table closer to me. Is it okay? Is it better?
Let's see.
Okay. Yeah. So we were saying in the beginning, like balance is a pair. Usually balance, we see two sides, one pair. So one pair, as I said, was about the body and soul. And then when we say body and soul, within each component, the body also has to have balanced sense organs. All the sense organs need to be in harmony, need to be working, functioning in a nice way, synchronizing, where we would say they are all connected in a nice flow, where there's a communication between the different sense organs. And then when we say about the soul, then Baba has given us a whole host of opposite pairs of qualities, all them. Sometimes it is virtues, sometimes it is of powers. Like today, Baba spoke about the power of tolerance. And then when we take it lokic term, tolerance, it implies some qualities that are not really in tune with what we are learning in Raj Yoga. Baba says we don't obey so there's a background complaint in our consciousness, like sometimes we have to sort of endurance, or we have a whole host of other qualities that we feel that we are lacking. Whereas when we say it's like obedience to Baba, imagine it's Baba, how can we really feel that we are really obeying to Baba? It's when we have that natural love, when we discover our nature is divine, God's nature is ocean of all divinity, and we are related to Him. There's a flow of qualities that goes in pairs. There are some of them that we refer to as, when we say body and soul, it's the physical and the subtle. We have to explore both together. And when we refer to as the virtues, some of them, because tolerance, like nowadays we are celebrating the Hindu population especially is celebrating what we call the Navratri, the celebration of the 9 deities. Of the nine deities, Nau Durga, or 8 Shakti. 8, we would say Ishta Devi, 8 special deities, which we refer to also as the 8 powers. And the power that stands opposite to tolerance, it is the power to face. So it's not that we don't have to face, it's not that we don't have to tolerate. We deny one of them or superseding, but it's rather a blending of both, where we need to face with love. And also, when we talk about tolerance, there's a whole host of qualities also that opens up, like we have patience with understanding. Then we have other pairs, like Baba has been mentioning many a times, like being loving and detached. Baba gives the example of the lotus flower. We have also a series of Hindi words which are very much closely translated as humility and self-respect. In Hindi, we use the word humility, nirman, and the words rhyme, and self-respect is swaman. But if we don't have enough of self-respect and humility, then it can move into ego. We say abhiman. And when we have abhiman, we have what we would say feeling of getting insulted. We won't be in that phase of humility. Then there's the simple things almost every day Baba mentioned in Murli. He mentions about the balance we need to remember between seva and service and remembrance. So right now we can check how much are we in remembrance, in Baba's remembrance, and how much are we in interaction. Then there is also, when we are talking, there's the balance between silence and sound. So sometimes we are more like sort of concerned about what I have to, like for example now, I'm trying to be more delivering whatever I have noted down in points, but also at the same time checking myself to what extent I am in silence. So I believe that the more we talk from that seat of silence, the more it can be audible, not to the physical ears, but to be heard by the soul. Yeah. And also, in silence, it allows us to watch our inner conversation. Our inner conversation, and if the inner conversation switches into something negative, contrary to our divine nature, there's a sort of noise. There's a discrepancy. It doesn't resonate. So when it doesn't resonate and we take charge, then we say in silence, we call out to our divinity inside the intellect to intervene, and there's someone watching. When we bring forth what we say the intellect, a refined part of our intellect is the conscience. The conscience is like the watchman, the one who is observing. When we say detached observer, seated in my silence, it meets that point, the subtlety inside the intellect, which when we are on a wrong track, it rings our conscience, there's a sound going on which is not in line with the original nature of the soul. So the ultimate effort, what I find, is reaching to the full awareness of all our faculties. The faculties, the treasures of virtues, powers, and knowledge that Baba has given us. And the search for our perfection, it is incremental, it is not so fast, it is a whole lifetime. We are number-wise in that, but ultimately we all have to reach our destined state of perfection. So when we say state of perfection, it is our original state, our original and eternal state, perfect stage. The original, eternal, and perfect state is there already buried inside the depth of our unconscious. The three levels. We have unconscious, subconscious, and the conscious level. So deep inside the unconscious, we have the blueprint of that perfection. So the more we move into that inner silence, the more we can have glimpses of it. But I would like to bring 2 points from today's Murli that has touched me in that effort of reaching that balance that we are all seeking. And that balance, that word which I noted in the very essence of Murli today, Baba was referring to the power of yoga. He says there's no power, no physical power that can allow us to claim the kingdom of the world. Yoga is the only power that will allow us to claim the sovereignty, the kingdom of the world. And then he uses the word law. So that brings us a little bit about a notion about the laws. I would refer to 3 types of laws, which I would say are binding. One is man-made laws. The man-made laws, as we all know, we say in French, nul n'est censé ignorer la loi. Nobody is supposed to ignore. Nobody is supposed to defy those laws. That's man-made. And the second is natural laws, like the 5 elements, the 4 seasons, they automatically, naturally follow each other. And then we have the spiritual laws. In the spiritual laws, the soul and body, how there's the law of karma governing it. And in the law of karma, there are a whole series of opposite virtues, like we just mentioned about humility, self-respect, loving and detached. There's a beautiful one also that's about dharma and karma, which we can also refer to as karma yogi. Dharma and karma. The word dharma is righteousness, and it is very close to our third subject of Rajayoga meditation. It's dharana. Dharana, inculcation of virtue in action. And that's why we refer to as karma yogi. Dharma and karma. And the soul that embodies that righteousness, in Hindi it is referred to as dharmatma. Then another pair is being entertaining and solitude, a blending of both. So we can be macho, we can be in our solitude, but at the same time we need to be entertaining. So we need to find that blend. So when we were looking at the very word of balance, we said there are some similar words, there are some synonyms of the word balance. One of the synonyms which I was referring in the beginning, which Baba has been asking us this month to refer to, is harmony in the dance of sanskar. But there's also a word which we use is synchronicity, equilibrium and synchronicity. Synchronicity, and we would say that the more we have this blend of the opposite qualities, like in the beginning I said about masculine and feminine, we reach a midpoint between the two, the past and the future, the present to be in the now. This is a place where from where we can operate, because the two sides are like the two pans of a scale. And just like the needle in the scale is compared like the intellect, man, buddhi, sanskar. So that intellect need to be constantly in tune with Baba. Fine tune with Baba. That's why Baba says, remember me again and again. And we are all making an effort towards that end, where we'll be attuned completely with Baba. And then we can be really like perfect instruments, where we also have the other pairs of words that comes to my mind. Is Baba is Karav and Har. We are Kar and Har, and we get our sense organs to perform those actions. So is it okay by now? Is it okay?
Yes, it's much better. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So yes, I remember a Murli which Baba, and a Vyakt Murli of 1972, where Baba was saying one of the most important virtue that can qualify us to reach perfection is equilibrium. It's equanimity. When we have that inner equilibrium, it's equanimity. And even on the path of devotion, we have this word equanimity in praise and insult, in victory and defeat, in loss and profit, in heat and cold. In other words, all the opposite pairs of virtues or values. So to be constantly in that seat, the seat of the soul, to be in that seat of equilibrium where we have access to all these opposite qualities, we need to be seated in silence, in the depth of silence. And in the depth of silence, this reminds me today of something else which Baba has mentioned in the Murli. He's been speaking about our journey throughout the ages. And then he says, he comes into the body of Brahma Baba. So then he says, the body of Brahma and he, there was reference to two souls. Baba says, no, it's only Shiv Baba as a soul enters the body of Brahma. So we say as a pair they function. Then only we are able to get the gist of what Baba wants to convey to us through the human body of Brahma. And then when we go through the cycle, where our image of perfection in Gyan is Vishnu. And when we look at the different ornaments of Vishnu, there is the four ornaments. One of the ornaments is Swadershan Chakra, the discus, the spinner of the discus of self-realization. So when we start spinning the cycle, we go through the 4 ages. Golden and silver we would refer to as the day of the world cycle. Copper and iron we say the night of the world cycle. So in confluence, we are trying to reach out to perfection, our original, eternal, perfect stage where we are full. And it is said when a vessel is full, it doesn't shake. There's no fluctuation. So when we reach our equanimity stage, then we don't fluctuate in our stage. We are stable, steady, and we move forward. Next, from our stage of confluence age, we go home, we take a rest, and in gold and silver, we are not even aware. We are not even aware that we are pure, we are innocent, like the innocence of a baby. The baby is the baby is pure, but it has no notion of the vocabulary of what is purity. So in golden and silver age, to be natural, we'll have the day of the world cycle. And then when we move into night, there's something happening when we start moving into the evening hours. In the darkness, ignorance starts coming in, and then we navigate through copper and iron age. But what is the compass we use to navigate through copper and iron age? I would say that right here, right now, in the confluence age, the teachings that Baba is giving us, the teachings on which we are experimenting and becoming expert in it, somewhere, somehow, it gets lodged as a powerful impression in the soul. So in copper age, when we find ourselves in darkness, we start searching for light. We start searching our way out. So in our search, we come across those impressions. Those impressions emerges on the screen of our mind in the form of pictures or images. And it can also come like some feelings, some nostalgia, some reminiscences, which may be triggered in copper and iron age. Copper age, it's much more, but when we reach in iron age, it is becoming lesser and lesser and lesser. But for us as Baba's children, we are reclaiming, we are finding those moments, and we can refer to them as our reminiscences, which could be sometimes maybe a fragrance, maybe an object, maybe a story. So it reminds me of a story which I would like to relate if I still have some time. So I remember when I was a child, there was a story in our school books, textbooks, and the title of the story was Le Petit Poussé. And the English translation says the little thumb. Hop. In fact, the exact words were hop thumb. And it talks about a story, the story where we had the woodcutter and his wife. They had 7 sons. And the 7th one, the first one was 10 years. The 7th one was barely about 4 4 years, 3 to 4 years. And he was tiny, tiny child. And he was the weakest in the whole batch of sons he had. But the couple were very poor. They had to work hard to cater for the needs of the family. So they were thinking there happened at one time there was famine, and they didn't know how to feed the children. So they talked at night when the children were asleep. The husband was telling the wife that, we should go and leave those 7 sons in the forest. They can look for some food by themselves, or maybe someone may find them where they will be perhaps having a better future than having to bear all those miseries, all those sufferings they are having in our family. The wife started crying, weeping, and said that, how come? How can I leave my children? So the husband came to a point where he was able to persuade the wife and said, yes, I think you are right. So although she was not willing to, yet both of them, the next day, they made a plan to take the 7 children out into the woods and get them busy packing the woods, collecting, and they will look for a moment where they can just escape. That was a story. And what happened? Among those 7, there was the little one had listened to that story, which had listened to that plan the couple was having. So he didn't tell his others. Early he went to a river close to the house. He picked up some pebbles, some white pebbles, filled his pocket with those pebbles. And out they went, the mother, the father, and the children. They went into the forest. And when they went into the forest, a time came when the children got busy tying up this pack of little woods. And then the husband said to the wife, let's go, let's run. So both of them, they disappeared. And when the children found out that they were all by themselves, they started crying. Then the tiniest one, the last son, was the smallest one, the tiniest, the weakest one. He said, don't worry, my brothers, we are going to find a way out. So what he had done, while they were coming out of the house, he was taking out those pebbles, and all the way on, he had put those pebbles. And he said, don't worry, we are going to find back our way back home. And really, he started following those pebbles to reach there. And here, in the meantime, what had happened to the couple? There was someone who knocked at their door that very day at night. That one was a rich person who had taken, there was a rich person who had taken a load from the woodcutter long ago, which even the woodcutter had forgotten. And he said, I have got a lottery. I've come to return your money with interest. And the wife started crying and said, oh, my poor children, where are they now? We can afford food. They went out at night, they had some food, and they started crying, what are they going to do now at night to go? In the meantime, the children happened to be there. They came at the door and they lent their ears to the door, and they heard the mother saying, where can I go and get my children now? How am I going to reach them? And suddenly the children cried, we are here, we are here. And the door was opened, and there was the nice, beautiful reunion, and there was nice meeting of the family and the children. And that reminds me of the reminiscences I was telling you, that in Copper and Iron Age. That reminds me when I came into Gyan, that we are like those souls having lost our way, and Baba, our mother, father, and it's not total comparison, but God is God. So he is the ocean, and he has come, really the merciful one, to fetch us, and he's giving us those pairs of virtues, of values, of powers that we have to negotiate with great precaution by listening to Baba, to every single instructions, Srimad directions that he gives us. Okay. I think time is over.
Yes, thank you so much. Your sharing was very helpful for all of us, and um, uh, we still have time. We still have 10 minutes. If you
Okay.
go on, if you want to say something about how a balance can bring blessings.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Baba refers to blessings as lift in our efforts, as medicine. So blessings, they come out when blessings first and foremost we get from Baba, the shower of blessings when we are obedient and we are following all the Srimad that he's giving us. And then when we talk about medicine, and Dadi Janki, I remember Dadi Janki, fondly remember her. She used to say that we have to serve with our every single thought, every breath, every heartbeat, every second. We dedicate ourselves totally, we give ourselves totally, body, mind, wealth, all our resources, time, and energy. We hand over ourselves, we surrender ourselves to Baba. Baba makes use of us as instrument, and we give our life to whatever Baba is telling us. We don't have, so to say, an identity of our own. We merge into Baba's remembrance, Baba's love, and we become his right hands. And then many, many souls are able to benefit. And the blessing, people may not come in front of you and say, yes, I bless you. But just the fact that they experience some sort of relief, some salvation, some happiness, they find they experience some peace. It is as if naturally it flows back to us. And if we go according to the law of karma, no, whatever you give out, it comes back to you multiplied. One positive thought brings millions times vibrations of goodwill towards us. So imagine our every single thought, our every single breath, our heartbeat is used in service of mankind, but not forgetting self-service. That's another balance that we need to bring, which we tend to forget when we overlap the balance. We go more on the doing. Instead of being human beings, we become human doings. And it is so clear that like the example Baba gave, the example of the cart and the horse. We can't put the cart before the horse. So then we have to then we have to watch very closely. Which is it that comes first? Do we give priority to our state of mind, to our state of our feelings, or is it that we are more prone to come to actions, and on the action field we give more attention to activities? When we are in activity, Baba very often brings our attention to that. We have the tendency to be so much action conscious that we forget that we are souls, that we have to vibrate in our own proper field of virtues and values and the powers and the positive feelings that emerge out of the practical, of putting those qualities into practice constantly.
Yes, thank you very much. It was really very powerful, your sharing. Um, you are so many years in Gyan. Can you tell us a few things? Because I don't see any questions on the chat, but can you tell us how did you put in practice all these things that you shared without, I mean, it took a lot of time, or it went gradually and you reached this state now?
It is gradual. There are ups and downs, and I would say that when I'm when I act as an instrument, when no, most of the time I should be as an instrument, I have tried to rally around the efforts collectively of all our brothers and sisters, of our brothers and sisters in the class, and we are initiating some sort of collective efforts. Like, for example, we have throughout the whole day, we have changed the traffic control songs to the 5 forms. Sometimes we have different drills that Baba has been giving. So in the center, every hour we have the collective sort of coming together to perform the drill. And also in the class, the Murli, when we are having Murli, when we reach halfway through the class, apart from the 7 a.m. traffic control, we have a different moment where we purposely bring those drills. So different days, different drill. And at the same time, we have different groups. We have a Shiv Shakti group, 2 Shiv Shakti groups, where we take the whole package of the month. Like sometimes we take the Avyak signal of the month, and then we go over it, and then we give this exercise to each. We share this exercise. For example, we have 30 points or 31 points of Avyak signal. So we tell each one to take. Suppose we take 30. Sometimes it is double. Suppose we have 60 or 90 students. Then each one will have a turn after 3 months or 2 months. So on that day, they observe silence and become embodiment of a number they choose from 1 to 30th. So in this way, we use some little techniques that we use collectively. For example, sometimes when we feel someone going a little bit sleepy in the class, we say, well, let's get up and have some physical exercise. These are some of the things we try to introduce. And also, as I was telling you, we have the Shiv Shakti group for mothers and Kumaris. And we have one for working mothers and working Kumaris. They have work life. Then we have one for Pandavas. Then we have a small children's class. These are the groups that somewhere when we meet together. In fact, I have. It's my first time I'm giving a talk in English for your type of audience, because usually I do in our local dialect, which is the language is Creole, which is a derivative of French. So I have the tendency to move between those languages. So I feel that I have not given enough justice to the language that I have been speaking. I know I have been myself sometimes at a loss to express what I really feel, but I hope that somewhere the message must have reached, at least something of what I have shared must have reached to some of you, or that I need to apologize. I need to have a little bit more practice.